Hey, welcome back, everybody. Dan and Zach, PowerHouse Fence Show, and we are in the house.
Wait, we have to use our last names. Dan Turbyville and Zach Shue.
That's right.
And we are in the house.
Cool.
I'm booking a Simpalo demo right now, so give me just a second.
Alrighty, then.
I know. So
welcome to PowerHouse Fence Show, presented by MFC, Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, and partners with Thornton Fence Consulting Group. Let's see. Thornton's added a super summit in Schenectady, New York, which is said to take place August 7th through the 8th. There should be a link in the descriptions. I'm Zach Shue. Dan is here. He's there.
hey.
We are live again this episode, so you feel free to call in. We got a number scrolling across the bottom for those who are able to watch. That telephone number to call in if you're listening is 901-878-4987. We'd love to take any calls for requests for topics or whatever, really. Just interaction would be cool. So thank you guys for joining us.
Topics are cool. It's kind of like coming up with something to talk about every week is challenging sometimes.
So today, and like a past episode, we're basically just going to kind of go back into what daily business functions are like with us, the conversations that we have been having throughout the week about the business here at Memphis Fence Company, and just kind of share some of that with you guys with some other insight and other things sprinkled in.
Yeah, maybe some stuff we've ran into, how we handled it, and what our plans are.
Right.
So maybe it'll help somebody out there. If it does, let us know. All right. So some of the stuff, like we recorded an episode that's going to air next week.
That's right.
So I think we signed up with samnatello.com to do some online marketing stuff. We talked about that in the episode where we were struggling with you. And so we have, ramped up our marketing stuff a little bit on account of that.
What have you been reading and listening to? Same thing?
Well, I just have been listening to the Founders
podcast.
Yeah. I read Galatians a little bit this morning.
That's cool.
But yeah,
which
nothing
is a
really
book
new.
in the Bible, right?
Yes.
Just to clarify.
Yes, It is.
All right, cool. Yeah, so periodically we talk to people who listen to our show, and we made mention of this, but Dan is keeping up tracking with our viewers across the world, and we have a new listener in Moscow as of last week.
Yeah,
this week.
Yeah, I haven't checked it since the other day, but yeah, we did have one pop up in Moscow, so that's pretty cool.
And as usual, I'd like to take a moment to just express gratitude for all the people who've helped perpetuate the show by listening, watching, communicating with us through whatever channels and methods we communicate with you guys with. So thank you all for your support. This is really why we thought we might have something cool informative and helpful with our experience. So that's what we want to do. Share a little bit of our experience with the business, a little bit of our personal journey in growing in our, professionally and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. We have a couple wasps in here. If we look like crazy maniacs, it's because they're dirt daubers actually, but they do kind of catch me off guard periodically.
And if you heard me go and start attacking the table, I was having a battle.
Scream. I'm leaving.
Right.
So we're going to the West Coast Fence Show. In case you haven't heard, breaking news.
That's right.
We're going to the West Coast Fence Show in Reno, September 5th through 7th.
We expect to be or had been assigned booths 516 and 518. September 5th through the 7th. That show, we outgrew the space.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's cool.
So the attendees outgrew the space. They added 10,000 more square feet.
It's busting at the seams.
That's right. So it's said to be a pretty big one. There's a golf tournament paired with that event, correct? Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to go to the show, then do the golf thing.
Did I hear right that you were shopping for golf clubs? Is that what I overheard earlier
I've
today?
looked at some golf clubs, yeah. So there've been a couple of occasions recently where there was golf going on, and I was like, well, I don't play yet.
Right.
So, maybe that's something I take up.
Yeah. So you haven't bought any yet?
I haven't bought any yet, no. kind of just. I probably will though. That's how that goes for me. I shop a lot before I buy,
Mm-hmm.
and I ask a lot of people and do some of my own research and kind of work up the nerve, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I get it. I do the same thing. I do my research. I do my looking around, all of that before I decide to commit to something. So,
So we made mention of this, Dan. We are going to proceed with a plan reading curriculum,
mm-hmm.
ultimately a class. We hope to incorporate some sort of a test and maybe be situated to afford a certificate at the end of this final thing. And we're working on it now. Dan's looking for the right platform to be able to compile all the information into like a class type structure, and then we'll be unveiling that, signing up and doing that stuff later in the year,
Yep.
probably more towards fall, winter, when the fence business is a little less businessy.
Yeah. And I don't know, like the certificate thing. Am I allowed to just give people a
Well,
certificate because I want to?
I've got thoughts on that. Maybe we could pair with an entity that's affording certificates.
Maybe you can talk with the AFA and see what they think.
Mm,
Then they'll steal our class.
right.
No, they won't.
So we need to like get somebody that's legit. So just to be able to say you have the Simpalo certificate of excellence isn't good enough.
I mean, it's a certificate
Sound-
nonetheless.
Yeah. So, anyways, there will be some sort of certificate awarded, is the plan.
Right.
And hopefully I can accomplish all of that and actually pull it off while having multiple different entities operating and everything. So,
At Dan Reeler's request or suggestion, we want to incorporate a moment where we discuss what Simpalo, the software that we use and Dan designed that we also sell, but that's not necessarily the point. We want to let you in on how it works a little bit, or how it's helping us on our day-to-day.
yeah, what you got?
I don't have anything.
Oh, well, I can tell you what I did for Simpalo.
Okay, let's hear that. That's good.
Yeah, so it's kind of been it's weird, man. It's actually kind of related to one of the things we're going to talk about here in a minute, but it kind of like just comes in little spurts. I don't know. It's like a feast or famine type thing, right? And so for whatever reason right now a lot of people are demoing and signing up for Simpalo, and so that's cool. So thank you everyone who's looked at it, considered it, has signed up, any of that. Um so what I worked on was I went through and I've just built out a catalog of configurations. Right? So in the past I kind of left it up to the customer and said, "Look, here's how you make a configuration. Now you go make yours for your company the way that you do fence." And some people were just kind of like, okay, right? But then also got some pushback from a few folks, and I just decided, okay, fine, I'll build you a whole catalog. And so I went through and I built everything like from 4 foot to 10 foot tall, 4, 5, and 6. I did a residential, light commercial, and then like a full commercial. And then once I got to 7 foot overall through 10, I just did the light commercial and full commercial. So built a whole catalog in there. Has some gates, it has all kinds of stuff. All of the stuff already was there. I just kind of like put it in a configuration. So I packaged it for you so you don't have to.
Cool.
So
That's good.
Simpalo didn't do that for me, but I did it for it. So
Right. Well, I have been using it, and I haven't really ever tried to look at plans on any of the Bid Connected or Construct Connect or whatever it's called. But I did today, and I got to say it's not as easy as just uploading to Simpalo. I thought I would kind of like shortcut and look for the fence first and
Right.
upload only the pages I wanted.
right.
I'm not doing that anymore.
You changed your mind?
Yeah, I was trying to save space in the cloud. I guess I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, oh, this folder in the cloud's getting big.
It might rain.
I don't know. So yeah, being able to just upload the plan set for me and scroll through to find the fence by way of searching the plan set's pretty advantageous.
Yep. Yeah, it works pretty cool, man. So we've already mentioned in the past that you'll hear in the future that we're exploring a Cat 265 compact track loader, track skid steer, whatever you want to call it. I got a call today from the sales rep, and he said one just landed in Memphis. Boom. He said he's going to bring it over probably Monday.
Cool.
And drop it off and let us play with it a bit and see what we think. And so still plan to make some videos and kind of, pros and cons type thing, I guess. and hopefully we don't get in any trouble. I'm still very nervous about that, just to be clear. But,
Yeah.
but anyways,
fun.
so the real tool that we wanted to talk about. Sorry, did you want to say something? I know I'm just.
That's good. I'm glad. I'm happy for you. You sound happy.
Thanks. So the real tool I wanted to talk about today, though, is the Dorringer cold saw.
Oh, we get to talk about one of my favorite tools.
Yeah,
That's exciting for me.
just for you, man. So that dib right into something you like. So we run 2 Dorringer cold saws. We have one in our fabrication shop, and we have one on our chain link side,
right?
I guess. So one of them we use to cut square tube, flat bar, things like that. The other one we use to cut post. And so we've ran the same 2 saws probably since I don't remember. I went to the Fence Tech where my dad bought them in like 98, 99, 2000.
The story I heard was 99.
99.
So that's the story here, at the company.
It was in California. Where did the Mighty Ducks play? Or where did they play in 1999? I think it was in that town.
I have
in California.
No idea. Anaheim. No, I don't
Anaheim?
know. I made that up.
Maybe.
That's where Dorringer is out of. They're out of California.
Yep. So they were at that trade show.
Cool. And we've been using them ever since. I think through the years, we've replaced parts. I personally have torn apart one of the heads and replaced the main drive and the worm gear and the gears and put that back together. We've done that a couple times and then found out Dorringer actually will allow you to ship that to them and they'll rebuild it. They'll also supply you with a loaner during the process.
Really?
Yeah, there's like we're not making full use of their warranty or service department for sure.
Oh, wow.
We have historically had a we'll do it ourselves attitude forever.
Yep.
I mean, and so which is cool, but yeah, the Dorringer cold saw, it's great. The one thing I will say is it produces a good bit of liquid. So your gloves, if you're wearing leather gloves, when handling material, they can get wet. So what I've done now is afforded the shop guys like a set of rubber coated gloves that they can use for cutting and handling. But it makes clean cuts and you can cut. I mean, I've cut like 2x2 solid bar. Pretty slow, but it'll do it.
Oh yeah.
It's very accurate too, which is the cool thing. You don't have to worry about
doesn't like drift or
no,
whatever you want to say.
Right. That's right. That's what I was going to say. It's like a friction saw. You have one noise, sparks, and then the blade kind of drifts. So you have to worry about that. But this thing, man, the vise is solid. The machine is super solid. And Dorringer, we shipped the blades back to Dorringer. I tried somebody locally a few different times, but Dorringer's really just done a really great job for us. So,
we have to ship them from Memphis to California, but then they sharpen them and send them back and they're right.
Right. So it's worth
cool.
The only one, I guess, downside, well, 2 really. And that in the summer, if we don't use an additive in the cooling liquid that is required for the cutting, which we get from Dorringer, and then you dilute it with water, kind of a typical 50 to or 30 to 1 or whatever. You can actually do it however you want. We do 50-50, I think, right now, but no one's actually measuring. Just dilute it some with water. But if you don't put an additive in there, it will, in the area we live in, it will house and produce mosquitoes in the summer.
Oh,
and then in the winter, the concern in a open environment shop that's not climate controlled like ours, they will freeze. So we found that antifreeze not only prevents it from freezing in the winter, but it somehow keeps the mosquitoes down. So
oh, really?
A little bit of antifreeze, which obviously
it just kills them all.
Yeah. So we put a dab of antifreeze in there, and that tends to take care of the mosquitoes, and then also the freezing in the winter.
So I would like to add, I think some of the times when we've had to tear them apart and replace gears and things like that inside is due to operator error.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, they come equipped with like a 18-inch handle, and the head is actually very heavy on its own. So the force of the head just being fed by gravity cuts pretty well, but people will try to accelerate that. And so the one in the shop has a handle that's like 30 inches long that someone welded to give them more leverage.
Yeah.
And
you kind of just want to, I think any saw that you're using, you want to let the saw do the work for the most part, right?
Right.
I mean, you don't have to on it, But I know the one over here on the chain link side, I think the last time we had to tear it apart and rebuild it was because it had no oil in it.
Yeah.
It was like the whole gear mechanism had no oil. So
That was our fault. We
Right.
replaced some internals and then didn't refill the case with oil.
yeah, right. So anyways,
But yeah, the Dorringer cold saw is fantastic for repeat cutting. I was using an Evolution chop saw with a metal blade.
Mm.
It's pretty good, very loud.
yeah.
It's a little more risky to make smaller cuts, you know. The Dorringer, I think, as far as safety is concerned, I would say, but obviously there's the price point. The Evolution chop saw, it's like $700, and now they've built one that miters and everything for
Mm.
cutting steel, and it's pretty good
They're
entry
just
level.
like if you've ever used a handheld circular saw to cut metal and it's like that terrible loud noise,
Right.
that's the same thing you're gonna get.
Yes, the high pitch aching squeal that it has. But
And
you know,
your ears are bleeding and all, but
if you wear proper PPE, I think you're all right.
yeah, I just wanted
But
to
yeah,
be
so for
dramatic.
like an entry level, I know not everybody's gonna just go out and if someone start like doing chain link and they're like want to get into fabrication, Dorringer's probably not the place to start.
No.
You know,
In fact, that's a good I'm gonna add that to the list here.
I know Jet makes one that's comparable, and then Bailey has one that's similar, similar kind of, and they make like a tabletop version basically.
Yep.
What we're talking about. But obviously, I'm not saying I have any experience with those. Those are just some alternatives if you're looking for something more entry level for fabrication. The cool thing about the Evolution is it's portable. I would take it on site. We did a bunch of on site fabrication at the
Mhm.
penal farm a while back. And so to take that out on site and be able to cut flat bar and basically we built all the handrail on site and to use that door or the Evolution chop saw in the field money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's definitely pros to having something you can transport
Cool.
instead of having a, I don't know, 1,800-pound saw or whatever. That
Are we
crazy
talking
thing
about
is.
the Vogel manual notcher?
No.
All right, we will next time.
Yeah.
Now it's time for a portion of the show we like to call Italian Word of the Week
Ilaria.
with Ilaria
Yeah?
Passoni.
Where's our sound effects? Cue the Italian sound.
Oh, it was the angel.
Hey.
Cool. So the word of the week or words is change order.
Okay. Cambio di ordine.
Oh.
Cambia di ordine.
Yes.
What? Cambia giorno.
No.
You said DiGiorno.
It's 3 words.
I said can of DiGiorno.
It's cambio
Cambio
di
di.
ordine.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to roll the R if you can.
Ordine.
Yes.
a good
Ordine.
word.
Yeah, good job, Dan.
Cambio de ordine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was actually good.
Okay, cool.
Let's get into this, man. I want you to introduce this part. You're a
I-
little bit closer to this than I am. So
Mr. Isaac is back joining us again. Thank you for being here. All right, so
let's do it.
let's do it. So I'm introducing it.
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you got?
So we had Randy on our show. This was episode 4 when we just started. No idea what we were doing, but we did it.
It was a great episode. And
Yeah.
Randy is a multi-decade veteran of the fence industry, not just Memphis Fence, but fence industry, a longtime employee of Memphis Fence Company. He is currently the vice president, master of all things commercial chain link
Mhm.
at Memphis Fence Company currently.
So I don't know. Is it so Randy's worked here for 40 years.
40 years.
Sunday is his 40-year anniversary. I can't figure out if it's more impressive that he's worked here for 40 years or the fact that he's endured 3 generations of my family
Right.
and
Right.
put up with our crap for 3 generations, right?
And
But-
so he started, I guess in the episode when he came on, his first job here was operating like a sling blade in the back parking lot.
for
so-
like a week or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he just showed up to work one day and they handed him a sling blade and said, "Here you go. You see all this grass back here? Go chop it all down."
So he's, stuck with it, and he knows a lot of people in the business and has been doing it a long time. When I have questions about how to navigate certain things management wise or, dealing with customers, contractors, if I have like a question and I'm stumped, I'll go to him
Yep.
a lot, and basically get that, like, get back in there, champ, you got it kind of a thing, but Super cool guy, man.
Yeah,
Very
we
committed to the company, and
for sure.
obviously it wouldn't be the same without him. I mean,
Right.
that's the ultimate thing to observe here.
Right. So you and I sat down and had a little talk with him a few weeks ago with some kind of personnel stuff that we were dealing with, and we were like, I don't know, let's talk to Randy, see what he says. And
Right.
so, yeah, it's hard to replace 40 years of experience.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that there is a replacement, right? But
Right. That's right, man.
so, anyways, like I said, he was here on episode 4. If you want to hear his full story, it's pretty cool. Go check it out. So we did get him a little something. I'm not going to tell the story of buying it now. It was very interesting for me, and I told Zach about it. But anyways, we got him something, and so maybe we'll circle back and talk to that a little bit.
Cool.
Talk about that a little bit, not
Yeah,
talk
so
to it.
Weird. This episode is going to be concerned with current affairs, as I previously suggested in introducing the show, kind of the ongoings here that we're going through now. So weird things happen when you land multiple jobs at the same time, and it seems to be that way, doesn't it?
Well, so what's even stranger is when you land multiple jobs at seemingly random times, and then they all want you to install them at the same time.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Right. The job I sold 6 months ago is now going into effect with the job you sold like 2 years ago.
Right.
And so now we're having all of the onslaught of scheduling and all that.
Mhm. And we talk a lot about watching the schedule, paying attention to when jobs are scheduled, all of that in order to try to prevent this. However, here is some evidence that it's just inevitable, right? One of the jobs that we've got going on right now, we were scheduled to be there mid-August, something like that. And we went and met with the superintendent, and he's like, "Oh no, we're going to have it done before that." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Like we have nothing else going on. Like, yeah, you know, um, and so, those schedules are, I mean, in my experience, in our experience here at Memphis Fence Company, those schedules are pretty loose. They give you a general idea, but they're not going to be anything that's like exact, right? So it's not going to tell you the day that you're going to be there 2 years in advance.
Right.
And yeah, so it is crazy, man. You can sell a job 6 months later, you're on one, 2 years later, you're on another one, and it happens at the same time.
Yeah, I think the importance of communication,
Mhm.
obviously is the thing. I mean, to be informed up until the point of that they expect you on site, to follow up with how the dirt work's going, and just kind of be in contact.
Yep.
Yeah,
being in contact and talking to them. I also think it's important. I've kind of grown to think it's more important now
right.
to tell them how long the job's going to take. So, like when you turn in submittals and stuff like that, tell them how long you think how long is the lead time on the material? How long is it going to take you to mobilize? How long are you going to be on site? Da 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 da.
And some people ask and some people won't.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I like to call and see how it's going. Oh, it's going good. We're not ready for you yet. We'll let you know. And then we're ready today.
Yeah. Right. Those are the best.
I just tore down all the old fence, the existing fence, and we need you to come replace it because we are wide open and have a security issue.
Yeah. Can you have some crews out here tomorrow? Like,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can.
So everybody fights through that stuff, So we've talked about the job that we sold that, I mean, I kind of slept on a little bit, to be honest with you. And I should have ordered the material a few weeks before I did, right? Not months or years or anything like that, but I should have ordered it a few weeks before. So I kind of went to Ameristar and went to our sales rep, and I was like, "Hey, can you please help me?" And so they've given us a tentative ship date. And as it turns out, the tentative ship date is going to be right on time for the original scheduled installation, not for his expedited installation that he wants. So I got to call him and I was like, "All right, I've got some information for you. It's not what you want to hear, but it's what I have to offer you, man."
Right.
And I said, before I go any further, just remembered we were scheduled to be there on August 9th or 12th or whatever day that was. I was like, and here's our tentative ship date. And so got to deal with that. And I mean, it's part of it. But anyways, we will be there on time for the day that we were scheduled. And then like I personally have another job. So a right of way fence in Mississippi.
Right.
It's been sold for like a year and a half. And I've talked to them several times and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting closer, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. And then he calls and he's like, hey, we're ready for you. Oh, good. Great. And so I think those two things happened like within a day of each other. And then so I had the same installer plan to install both of those jobs. And ironically enough, that same installer is supposed to be installing a new metal roof on a building for me. And I have a tenant that's moving into that building on August 1st. And that same installer also is going to be cutting or baling wheat straw like starting this weekend. So it's everything's just kind of like stacked on top of each other. And man, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. So again, watching the schedules is critical, but also just open communication.
Yeah.
And that's what I've found to be the best way to navigate that. If you can't be there or it's tight or you're going to have to start and then stop, because that does happen too. We have to satisfy 2
Mhm.
customers to some degree, and yeah, man. So
I like the story you told me earlier.
what's that?
So you're doing a job that like is it multifamily housing?
It's a church.
No, the other job. The one where they were working slower in the
Oh, no,
afternoon.
that's just a private residence.
Oh, so it's a single family
Mhm.
house. And a resident is the one who was
That's correct.
Okay. So would you like to tell the story?
Sure.
Because I feel
loosely.
like I'm just butchering it more and more.
I thought it was gonna be entertaining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the job's been going on for a while, and we're nearing the end of the job. And per usual, the fence is kind of the last thing to complete. I mean, there's some areas that need to have dirt work, grading, concrete poured, landscaping, things of that nature, and so we're going full steam ahead as fast as we can. And I've been updating the contractor and superintendent and project manager both the whole way. They're cool.
Mhm.
But the customer, the homeowner, yesterday sent an email saying something to the extent of, I'm not exactly counting the time it takes to install per panel, but I have noticed a lull in productivity in the afternoon.
Right. And what was the temperature? What was the high today was 90 according to my watch right now.
Right. So that was my thinking. It's like, man, yeah, by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they're tired. Also, some of the work that we did in the morning was prefabricated, and then some of the stuff in the afternoon we're fabricating on site.
Yeah, so this is like a weird expanded metal that's like framed out in flat bar and all
Right.
this.
And again, man, this is just another area where like communication skills really pan out. I didn't defend us. I said,
Mhm.
I understand your concern, and I promise we are working as diligently as possible. And I have a schedule to be there for the duration of the week. This is the amount of progress you can expect to see by the end of day Friday, by the close of the week. And then also the commitment for the rest of the project, just kind of a brief timeline of we'll be out there next week. I expect between Tuesday, Wednesday, we should be 99% complete.
Yeah.
You know,
And I mean, really, what else can you offer?
that's it. I sent them some pictures of the guys in the shop working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I asked the guys to look like they were really hard at work, which
Right.
they already were. But, we did stage some welding, though. I staged some welding.
Can you pose for me and look like you're working
The
extra
funniest
hard?
part about that is when I asked them, they found it so humorous that they're dying laughing in the photographs.
So it looks like they're not even working at all. They're just
I'm just welding and laughing at welding without looking and laughing.
right.
No, but yeah, no, they really are though. They're busting their butt, man. I sent
Mm.
them a text a minute ago, like, thank you guys so much for busting butt on this and your commitment to Memphis Fence Company, and also just like improving in their trade. These are guys that I think they collectively have 2 years of fabrication experience, and
Right.
I'm calling them to do everything a trained fabricator should be able to do in the same amount of time.
Right.
And I give them obviously some leeway and support. I spend a lot of time with them, helping instruct them and encouraging them. But so I just gave them a big like pat on the back, man. Thank you guys so much for getting after it and staying after it,
Yeah.
So
And so having been the person who's in the shop and me having been the person who's managing projects that the shop is doing, I think you have an interesting perspective with like the balance that needs to happen between how much pressure I'm getting and how much I'm passing along to you.
Right.
Right. And so if you're in the shop, I'm not going to come run to you every time I get a phone call of somebody like, hey, are you done yet? Right. I mean, yeah, if we have like a morning meeting or something like that, it might be, hey, look, these people are really up my butt, so just keep that in mind. And like, I might, make some comments like that, but I'm not going to pass along the full level. So how do you like balance that?
I guess just with candor, often, like you mentioned, kind of making it like kind of light,
Mhm.
but I do extend to them expectations
Right.
or deadlines, but there's not any threat of punishment or anything. And a lot of it, I think, to encourage that, or is just to say, we really need to get this done. Let's try to get it done by the end of the day or end of the week. And what I've been met with recently, I think the culture has been raised by my level of participation, like getting in and helping cut some stuff, or
Yeah.
like talking to them about ways to expedite the process. And then, and they're like responding to me, oh, I think I'll get it done sooner than that, And so that's kind of what we
Oh,
got
that's
going
cool.
on. Yeah, man, the getting in the trench with them thing, I think, has been the most important part of establishing that trust and communication, where they're
Mm,
comfortable saying to me also, like, I know you asked for Friday, but we're getting
we,
close. We're just not going to make
we
it.
can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
That's cool. That's cool. So did you have anything else about that? Or?
No.
Okay. So we had this situation come up today. And first of all, uh, I acknowledge and I own the fact that this is a training deficiency, right? I'm not saying that anyone did anything wrong, and it's my fault that it happened. So we had someone who awarded a job to an installer who didn't have the proper credentials that we require. And so what I mean is things like having a business license, having general liability, workers' comp, having your own vehicle and equipment to install the job. Um,
Some
so
form of portfolio or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, like a resume. And by resume, I mean that means that you're good enough that I would accept the work that you install.
Right. Examples of your work ultimately.
Right. Um, I had someone, yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of a particular person, right? I like things the way that I like things, and if you're going to install for us, I expect you to do it the way that I like it and the way that I think's good enough. So what happened? He hired someone that he shouldn't have. And I mean, I apologized to him during the conversation that I had with him. I apologized to him and I was like, I'm sorry that you didn't know you weren't supposed to do that.
Right.
Right. Cause he was all bummed out and everything. And I was like, man, it happens. Like you've done it. We're going to get through it. We're going to move on. And now the next time the situation comes up, like we know what not to do, we know what to look for. And so here's the question in all of this is how did we get to the point where not everyone here was aware of the requirements to hire someone? Now, listeners, so you're aware, the person who did it, like they're kind of stepping out and I don't want to say this in a way that makes it sound like they did something wrong, but it's kind of like outside of the world of what they normally do, right?
Right.
It's a little bit outside of their like day-to-day routine. And I mean, honestly, he was probably excited to have accomplished this thing and it be getting done.
Right.
And so that's why I was
Making a
like,
sale ultimately.
yeah,
I mean, and I think that's where that came. I think a little bit of that is, you're right. He started acting in a position that he wasn't fully trained for.
yeah,
So to bid and sell a job is not something that he typically does, but not having that clearly defined,
mm, yeah. And not having, well, okay, Mr. Uh, what are those things called?
job descriptions.
Job description. So yes, all right. So job description is one. Um, but is that going to prevent someone from stepping outside of their job description and doing something additional? Because if it does, then like that's ammo against a job description, right?
Right.
In a sense.
Yeah. I mean, the value is that this person took initiative
Mm, yeah.
with the interest of the company and with the best interest of the company in his interest, that's what I'm trying to say, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And so, and I think a week prior we did something similar where it's like a gate repair. I said, hey, man, will you look at this? Just get me prices on material. He said, do you want me to go ahead and quote this? I said, all right, sure. We'll give it a shot. So I take some responsibility there too for kind of extending
The go ahead.
Yeah, to do it that way. So then it's kind of becoming a thing.
And was that the same job?
No.
Oh, okay. So it was a different job. So here's the question. How do we get to that point, right? How did we get there? Because it's not right to tell people not to take initiative and not to grow, right? I don't think that that's right to tell people. I do think that if someone is going to take initiative and like try to grow and develop and all of that, probably should do it under proper guidance. But how do we have all of those little things like that documented somewhere? That's not the question. The whole question, how do we have them documented somewhere that a person would actually go look or know to even look? I mean, if you just hide that in a policy manual that's 150 pages long, are they going to go look for the section for hiring a subcontractor?
Right.
Are they going to go look for the section for ordering company hats? Right? I mean, are they going to look?
You mean shirts?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
mean company shirts?
We're not going down that path, or I wasn't, but
I'll do it.
okay.
I mean, they
All
might
right.
not even know. I ordered how many shirts did I order? A
I
ton.
don't know. More than
The shirt I'm wearing, actually. I looked at the proof. I just okayed it. I trusted the designer. I used a different printer than we normally use, and they were all bogus.
yeah.
The
Well, not only these, but also those like long sleeve fishing jersey things that you got too.
Right, but there were only about 6 of those, so not a huge deal. But all of the administrative shirts for the office, basically. And luckily, I was able to like throw myself at the mercy of our normal print guy and was like, please, Andy, please. Andy of Atomic Graphics is a saint. Andy, please, save me, save me. I've made this terrible mistake. And I was so embarrassed. Wow, was I embarrassed. But luckily I was able to fix it. In the circumstance that we're talking about, this person's not able to undo.
Right.
All they just got to roll with like, crap, I made a mistake. And the only fix is just don't do it again. That sucks.
And that's what I told him. I was like, man, you're not going back.
Right.
You're not going to go back and
Dude, that's
undo
a
what you
solid
already
life lesson,
did.
though.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so. I talk about like an amends as well. Like not just an apology. This isn't just like I'm sorry. It's a commitment to not do it in the future or try not to do it, because sometimes we don't even, as humans, we're going to do it again. And so this applies like as kind of a universal life lesson of like, I made the mistake. I can't undo. All I can do is make a commitment to you to try to change and not do that again.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all we can do at this point, right?
Crazy, man.
And
so
it's not like you're suspended because you screwed up or anything. It's just like, okay, we messed up. We learned. Let's not do it.
What that leaves us with is the responsibility to extend proper training, right? So we can prevent that from putting an employee in that position in the future.
So check this out. We have a list of subcontractors.
Right? We do.
Okay.
I'm aware of this.
We have a published list of subcontractors, and it has on this list what type of work they do, where they're willing to travel. All of this stuff is on the list of approved contractors.
Right.
And so this person that was hired was not on the list of approved contractors either. Right. And so again, it's up to us to make sure that there's proper training and make sure that people know what they are and are not supposed to do and how to do things. But I mean, it almost is, you can't possibly have something for every possible or for every scenario. Right. And so I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. If anybody has any advice or any thoughts or anything, feel free to let us know. But anyways, we learned, right? And so what's that acronym that I think I've heard Matt Warner use a lot for FAIL, first attempt in learning? Like that's what he went through today, man.
Cool. So we were talking earlier. How transparent should I be about how this conversation came about? Do you want to use your version of discretion to introduce how we got into that?
Yeah. So first, JC Curry signs is in JC Gurry signs is in here, right?
Cool.
And so the other
Speaking
day,
of printing things.
Yeah. the other day we got I got a text message that says, "Oh, I was just told that we're out of fence signs." And I got like oddly excited to order fence signs. And I went on the JC Gurry website and I said, before I do this, I'm going to walk down here and make sure we're actually out. And as it turns out, we had 2 more boxes. So they're going to last us a while. But I was pretty excited to call them up and
Right.
order. We've never ordered signs from them, and I was going to. And so,
We
anyway,
still are. We're still going to do it.
we will. When we run out, we will. Yeah, so the situation is basically Zach and I were talking about a department of Memphis Fence Company. And this department probably as like a whole, no one's going to know what department it was because, I was talking to you, but
Right. Sure.
so this department kind of underperforms a bit. And what I mean by it's not profitable enough.
Right. That's right.
And it's not profitable enough to justify the resources that go
Yeah, we
into
have
it,
a low,
right?
we'll just say we have a lower than expected or preferred margin.
That's right. That's right. And so Zach's idea was, well, what if we make a business plan?
Yeah, I wanted to resell you basically a department of your business and propose it to you as if it is a new business and basically tear it down to ground zero and start from scratch.
As if I were an investor.
Right. That was how I wanted to present, just for a new way to look at this, a new perspective on this. And ultimately, I think you wrote in the outline there the words tribal knowledge, and I think ultimately that's how this department has been operating for, I don't know, 20 years. You say there have been versions of business models and changes in staff, but like we don't have that. We don't have the original model.
Well, none of that has ever been documented. Like
Right.
we're really bad at that.
Right. So that's what I was saying. I was like, what if we act as if we're two guys starting a business and we're gonna build it out and make the plan.
And we want it to be documented from the beginning because we are good at what we do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna plan to be good at what we do.
Right. Yeah. So
failure to plan is a plan for failure
to fail.
There you go. That's it.
Something like that. So Zach says, well, what if we do this business plan? And what if we do all of that? And I said, okay, what
What's
does it
a business
do?
plan?
Right. So what is a business plan, Zach? Give us a little rundown of that.
So a rundown of a template business plan would be something like a high-level overview. Could be an executive summary. So just a general, this is the business, right? Then you have a company description where you would establish a name and your trade, right? Market analysis, meaning a need for your product or service.
Okay.
Then an organizational and management structure, which if I could highlight ****, this is the part where I would say this is an essential part of this new business plan for said department. Marketing structure. So a legal structure, ownership, key personnel. I think job descriptions would fall into that category for me if I were going to define those roles a little bit better. So the service or product. So this is actually what you sell, product development, things of that nature. Marketing and sales strategies. So how not only what is your market or how you're going to get your product to them, right? So brand development, pricing strategy sounds huge to me. Now you see I've outlined this. It's in giant bold letters on the outline. Distribution channels, those things are examples of your marketing and strategy. So financial projections, which is interesting.
That's particularly interesting to me.
That's the part where we'll hear Dan's opinion on financial projections. Revenue forecast, startup cost, which would be important if presenting this business plan to you as the investor. Profit and loss statement, which I think in that circumstance, if you've not started the business, the profit and loss statement to me would basically be a template for how you plan to collect and present this data.
So that would be like a pro forma, right? You kind of make a projection based on your sales and cost of goods sold, overhead.
Yeah, I mean, run a 6-month.
Yeah, pro forma.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Funding, amount needed, how it will be spent, and a repayment plan. And then implementation plan. So time for the development, opening, how long it's going to take to get up and running, the resource allocation, risk management. Because I obviously, like, as I know risk management, it's kind of like the security guard standing in the doorway at Walmart or whatever. So like loss prevention is what I thought about risk management. But I also there's another when I read risk management, I'm like, oh, I just see a security guard.
Yeah,
Loss
right.
prevention is what I think. But
Yeah.
also, you said you brought up like, so you have these projections. What if you don't meet your revenue target?
Well, so hold on. So risk management is what happens when this thing goes belly up. How
Sure.
are we managing that risk?
Right. Well,
Right.
and you would start going belly up before, and I think that's where the risk management comes into play.
So would there be you would predetermine indicators or moments that you're going to pull out
I
or
think
something
so. And then
like that?
so an example of that I thought was, well, obviously you can easily start with reducing labor cost if your overhead's creeping up by way of just reducing your hours, right?
Yeah, but so okay. So let's talk about that concept, right?
Do we is that we're going in? All right, we're going in.
This
ladies
is
and gentlemen.
so this is very interesting. The PowerHouse viewers are now going to see Zach and I debate about something or have a conversation about something, and neither of us really know a ton about it, right? And so this is interesting. And so Cannon says that he's liking it. Um, great. So all right. Okay, so the risk management thing. So you're going to put in like indicators. At what point you're going to freak out? All right. So your idea was if you need a lower cost, then cut back on hours. So if you're going to cut back on hours, you're also going to cut back on revenue.
That's right.
And that is extremely like counterintuitive to me.
Sure.
Right? If my overhead's growing, now I want people to work 10 hours of overtime every week or be more productive, maybe not overtime, but be more productive, more efficient, and accomplish more so we can bill more.
Right.
Right. That's my
That's
mind.
assuming that your marketing and sales strategies are working to bring in the business.
Forecast. Yeah. See?
Sell more.
Sell more.
That's
That's
what I just
always
said.
the answer.
That's what I just said.
Sell more is the answer.
Right.
Forecasting is majorly important and keeping a handle on year to date. All right. So let's talk about that forecasting idea because so full transparency, Zach and I already like had a conversation like this once and we wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. We decided to do it again. So we have this forecast. We have a budget laid out.
They're saying sell more because they want us to buy more advertising.
Because
supplies.
once we run out of our fence signs, then they get paid every time we install a fence too.
Right. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. So, so your forecast and your budget and your sales goals and all of these things, what happens when you don't hit them?
Right.
Right. So let's say you have a monthly sales goal of just say $100,000, right? You get to the 28th of the month and you're like, oh crap, I didn't hit my goals. What are you going to do?
That's right.
So now you don't sacrifice your margin and go back and offer discounts on jobs. That doesn't seem to make
That's
any
not
sense.
what any of the consultants we've talked to say. They say do not back off the margin.
Right. So
Don't
how do
even
you
budge?
So how do you like last minute scramble to hit your sales goal? Right. Or does the deficit of your sales goal for January now roll over into February and you got to make up for it the next month?
Well, that's kind of how we've seen things work.
And so then are you adjusting your budget monthly or quarterly or whatever you're doing according to your previous month's real sales? So how does all of that work? Like I honestly just really don't understand. You know what we should do? I have an idea.
JC Gurry says raise the prices if you're not hitting your forecasts.
Raise the price. So now we raise the prices, which makes us able, like, let's say our closing rate's 50%. If we raise the prices, is our closing rate going to drop to 40% and our sales still going to be the same? I mean, there's some
That's
math
my theory
involved in that.
That's my theory. Yes, that we will to effect sell less because of the price.
Well, but you're going to sell less.
All the TV shows say the car dealers are slashing prices.
Right.
You know, they're just cutting prices to sell more. Right.
Yeah.
Sell.
Well, and we don't have that option. Like we're selling at where we need to be already.
Right. So we're not cutting costs. I mean, price.
Right.
Well, yeah.
At
so
some point, the sales team feels defeated with that model. I don't know which model.
this,
Yeah.
he's talking about me in my failed modeling career.
See, make your loyal customers pay more. That doesn't sound right. To keep margins, you need. Oh, this is crazy. I can't keep up. To keep margins, you need to increase sales or raise prices. Yes, that's raising prices. Right. So you raise prices and then your sales team closes less deals. And so now they're all bummed out because they can't sell anything.
Not hitting your targeted sales bums you out too.
Right. For
And
sure.
to what extent is that like my fault? That's what the question I ask myself.
Right.
It's like, and I'm constantly trying to come up with, that's where this whole talk came from,
Mm-hmm.
was how do we sell more? How do we make more?
Right. I mean, how do we make it to where like it's profitable enough to
Right.
feel like it's to where the juice is worth the squeeze, right?
Right.
How do we get to that point to where we feel like what we're doing is justifying the effort that's going into it? So
Love this Rio Grande Fence Cup.
yeah.
It's amazing.
Uh,
I've had
Canon,
ice in here all day.
Canon has a great idea right here. If Zach could just work for free a few months, it would help.
I'll suggest that to my wife and see what she thinks.
We'll take that into consideration, Canon.
He thinks I'm getting paid? What the
Right.
heck?
I don't know what's going on. But man, that's a whole crazy thing. If you constantly improve the customer experience, they will be happy to pay more for it. So you have to improve the customer experience before they agree to pay
That
more.
goes back to our
Chicken
delivering
or
wow.
the egg.
Delivering wow, though,
Right.
is make ourselves sellable and that much more valuable to the customer.
Right. Yeah. But
Not
how
in
do you prove to someone? Well, I guess you can deliver wow throughout the whole sales process.
cutting expenses?
You should, right? Because that's
Yeah,
how.
no, absolutely. You should deliver wow from the time that the customer calls you the first time ever. Goes to your website the first time ever. Whatever that first interaction is, that's when you're delivering wow from the beginning. You don't wait until they've signed a contract.
Yeah, and that's how
Right,
they're
it says-
they're gonna like do the word of mouth thing and be like, oh, they were so good. I'll definitely recommend them if someone needs this job done.
Yeah.
Right. Also, the brand development. I mean, we're talking about marketing
Mm-hmm.
supplies, these shirts we mentioned, the hats we mentioned, the fence signs we mentioned. I think that's part of that whole branding to be attractive to the customer. Right.
The other things that we're just trying to cook up now to
Right.
bump up that whole like swag kind of thing. Okay. So now we've got cutting expenses as another option. So interestingly enough, I talked to Cannon about this, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I talked to you about it. I think I've talked to Jeff about it. And so cutting expenses is a hard thing. If you're spending $100,000 a month in your overhead, where are you cutting expenses? Right. I mean, so one of the examples that I've used a few times in talking to people is we can go shop and try to find somebody to give us cheaper dumpsters. Right. But I
Right.
mean, if we're saving $100 a month, what are we doing? Right. We're not moving the needle at all.
Right.
And so go ahead.
That's where we went back to JC Geary's previous comment of increased sales. And that's what we landed on. Expend that energy
Mm-hmm.
making sales, whatever that looks like. I've been calling people for referrals.
Right. You got any, you know anybody that needs a fence?
Or just, we did some work for you in the past, just checking in, wanted to let you know we're still here.
Yeah.
And if you know of any upcoming projects.
So my theory, I bought Memphis Fence in 2013, right? I didn't know what in the freaking world I was doing when I bought this thing. And I've learned, not everything. I've learned a lot. But so my theory from the very beginning is there's the number one number we need to be focused on in our P&L is revenue.
Right.
And I've interacted with other people within our organization who want to focus on that overhead number, right? Expenses. And I'm like, it's hard. It's hard to find something in there that is going to make any kind of difference. And I'm always revenue, 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 revenue. That's where we need to be. And efficiency. I think somebody in the comments mentioned something about efficiency earlier. I was preaching about that to Jeff a couple days ago. Is like, man, if we can take a job that historically has taken us 10 days to install, now install it in 9.
Right.
Like, we just increased our efficiency, which then can reduce our sales price. And in theory, that will increase our total revenue because that just made us more competitive. Right. So efficiency is a huge thing. What? The office staff is killing us taking all the money. Well, and then so Brian suggests PowerHouse cowboy hats.
Cool.
Yeah. We need to get Brian a blue cowboy hat that says PowerHouse. We can put a logo on all 4 sides of it probably. So what do we got? That should always be the goal from start to finish. Go above and beyond. I think looking for other ways to make money would be more productive than trying to cut costs. Yes. Other revenue streams, material sales, fabrication for others, on-call fence crew, 24-hour service. Interesting. I've thought about that. I've thought about trying to come up with a way to do this like 24-hour on-call emergency repair type thing.
My ideal situation is a crew that is, we have a contract with a facility that we are their fence repair guys.
I think having someone on call all the time to do emergency repairs at 11 p.m. is pretty cool.
Right.
Now, the flip side of that is we are in Memphis and we do sometimes we are fairly regularly dispatched to parts of towns that you just don't want to be in at 2 o'clock in the morning. So there's kind of that.
Just go dirt cheap, work 24 hours a day and try to make money that way.
Yeah.
That's canon.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's I think when Cannon and I talked the other day, he's like, man, how are these people doing this? How are they selling these jobs so cheap? I was like, dude, I don't know. And so we talked about that for a while the other day. Having 2 people on call at 11 p.m. is even cooler. One to break the fence and one to fix it.
Right.
Yeah, so we just need to like get somebody a case of beer and send them out in, a armored truck and tell them to go run through some fence.
I don't condone this comment.
Yeah, no, that's a joke. We're not going to do that. That's a joke.
Oh, geez.
Yeah,
man. So we landed on sales. I mean, that's where we went. That's where we got.
That's it.
This. And so we, Dan mentioned earlier to invest a little bit more, which doesn't make sense. We're looking at cutting overhead costs, but in the end, we resulted with spend more on marketing.
Yeah, right. So we started off going down the path of reducing overhead, and then we increased our overhead by going and hiring Sam Natello.
That's right.
And now creating these, swag things that we're going to.
Well, I mean, think about it when you're when it's a manpower issue and you want to make more money, but you got to hire guys first to do the jobs. I mean, it's the same thing,
right?
And that's like that hump, of a small business going to a medium business is like you just continue to have to spend more to earn more.
So that was one of the things that I think Ken and I talked about too, was like, what if you got 5 crews now and you put on crew number 6? So now you can increase revenue and decrease overhead, but do you have the sales to support crew number 6? Right now, can you close the extra deals that's needed to keep 6 crews running instead of 5, or whatever those numbers are? So I mean, that's kind of that's an interesting thing too. Like me, not that I'm an overly conservative person, really. I'm pretty open with just diving into stuff head first, but that is kind of like one of those things where I'm like, man, I feel like we should have the sales and be like, maybe every once in a while we're turning away a job or we're losing jobs because we can't get to them. At that point now, yeah, we need another crew. But also that's like very reactionary, right? You're not being proactive at all by doing it that way.
Right.
And I mean, we want to be proactive, not reactive. So I don't know. Good conversation. This started off with me asking, what do we do when we don't hit our sales goals? What do we do when we've expended the entire budget for utilities? Do we
Right.
turn the lights off? So that's where I kind of struggle to like wrap my mind around the budget. Now, I would say if we're going to budget for equipment, right, or for improvements in a building or for things along those
Right.
lines, I can understand having budgets for that. So if I say we're going to spend $50,000 a year on new tools and equipment, then that's a budget. That's how much money we're allowed to spend throughout the course of the year.
Or percentage would probably be a good way to look at that, I think.
Either of those things. So now on the flip side of it, being able to say we're going to spend $10,000 a year on cell phones, we're not going to like cut out our cell phones if we exceed that. Sorry, I'm
Right.
so
No, we're going to get cricket phones and we're just going to have a set number of minutes per person.
right.
Ken says, yeah.
He
got
pulled one bulb out of every light fixture and got rid of the colored ink.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
I said that the other day. I
Hmm.
did. I was like, dude, if we just went to just black and white printer, we could save a ton of money.
Yeah.
Or just went all digital and didn't buy ink and paper at all.
Right. We just today
Save $500 a
today
year.
I just told Angie, I said, she told me that the lease was up on our, the copy machine that you see in offices, whatever that thing is. Like the big one that is like the size of a bed or whatever, So she's like, the lease is up and they're wanting us to go on this like maintenance plan. It's $65 a month. Da 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 da. I was like, what do you get? Oh, you get toner. Toner. I was like, no, screw that. I said, get a lease on a new machine for $120 a month, and now we get a new printer.
Right.
Right. This thing has been in here for years. It's in a super dusty, nasty environment.
They called to extend her car's extended warranty.
Right.
Basically,
they're trying to reach you about your copier's extended warranty.
Ken says sometimes you got to do weird stuff to get people's attention. Like, dang, this guy, it's serious now.
To get people's station.
I think he meant to say attention. That's why. I put the
okay.
starter.
I see.
Like, dang, this guy's serious.
Yeah.
I mean, if you took all our phones and gave us cricket phones or beepers or something, pagers, I think you'd get our attention.
Flip phones?
Right.
Give me that iPhone. Here's your new one.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people are still using flip phones here, by the way. So our phone overhead is we're not shaving money off there. I don't think.
Right.
People are still. What's that?
You said someone used flip phones, and I said, Donnie.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A couple of the foremen.
Most of the installers still have like those old school flip phones that have like push to talk buttons on the side of them. Yeah. Yeah. But so, I mean, it's not like that portion of our overhead is not absorbent. Oh, one of the things we talked about was, guess what? We do a podcast.
Right.
There's some overhead.
Right.
We go to trade shows. Like there's some overhead.
Right.
I mean, we do stuff like that we could cut out if it really came down to it, but I don't know. What's the point of doing all this if you can't have a little fun?
Right. And I mean, at that time, that was how our marketing budget was being spent.
Yeah.
So this is part of the marketing.
Right. So now we just increased our marketing budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had hoped to not just entertain you and debate with all this stuff about current affairs. We're an hour in.
Oh, wow.
We got half a show left. So ultimately, we're going to have to get back into change orders in the next show, I think.
Ilaria, remove change orders from the title. We didn't even talk about them.
Sounds good.
Change order for the title of the show.
Yeah. There you go.
Submit that one too.
So,
and I appreciate all the participation from Isaac, Cannon, whoever the representative of JC Gurry Signs is. Did I say Brian? Did I say Isaac, Cannon? I just want to go back through that again. Out of sight, out of mind, stay visible. That's right.
Yeah.
The power of presence is Dan's new catchphrase.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm not sure who he stole that from, but we don't care.
I'm not sure either.
They don't
but
get
it's
any
here.
credit.
So what I was going to say is maybe what we could do is we should have this conversation with a person who could tell us the answer to our questions.
So, purple coaching.
Tony Thornton,
Yeah. Somebody brought up,
Whitaker,
yeah,
one of anybody,
Matt Warner, maybe.
maybe. Isaac says he's going to need a change order for his time today.
Dang, was
Me
the show
too.
that bad?
I'm going to send you a bill,
Is
Hoss.
that what he's saying?
I don't know, maybe.
I wasted an hour listening to you jerks.
I know. And I didn't learn anything. Yeah. Somebody who knows about budgets and can tell us the reason for doing a budget.
Right.
And how that, not necessarily the reason. I
Man.
understand. Dang. Cannon says he wasted his evening. Isaac says bring in the pros. I
Dang,
quit.
They're trying to get me fired up. Just
I
wait.
quit.
Just wait for the next episode coming out of the booth.
But yeah, I understand the point of making a budget, right? And doing projections and setting goals and all that stuff. But what I struggle with is what do you do when you fall short?
Right.
Right. How do you react, or how are you proactive
Man,
when you're falling short?
Everyone I've talked to about this, and I think the sentiment has been the same that you've brought in from the people you talk to, is stay the course.
Yep.
I mean, that's ultimate, and that's what we do. Basically, we're like, okay, well, let's just get back in there for round 19,
right?
Or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, you do kind of get tired of getting beat up a little bit,
right?
know?
Right.
And I mean, we don't get beat up all the time, so. Cannon says he typically starts drinking and he gets up and tries it again. That's what we do, man. We just keep on trucking. We keep on trying, and y'all keep on tuning in. We appreciate you being here.
Cool. We're committed to keep failing and trying to learn. So hopefully you guys can learn along with us.
And we will take Isaac's advice, and we'll try to bring in a professional who can give us a little bit of information about budgets and forecasting.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate all the audience participation or whatever. So thanks again. You're the reason that we do this. So see y'all next time.
Thanks.
Good night.
See ya.